צור ישראל קומה, בעזרת ישראל קומה, ובטחינו ממך יהודה וישראל, צור ישראל קומה, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש 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 ישראל, צור ישראל קומה, בעזרת ישראל קומה, ובטחינו ממך יהודה וישראל, צור ישראל קומה, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש 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 ישראל.
He gave us the heads up.
He did?
Yeah.
Couldn't see.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, everyone who's here, which is like euphoric to have people here for a special, amazing, not only Shabbat service and prayer, but for amazing bat mitzvah and a wonderful family. A bat mitzvah who was named on this bima some years ago. I can't believe it, Gevalt. When I didn't have gray hair, I think I remember that. And her amazing family and friends and everyone here. It's just really, really special to be here together. And with all of you who are, I know many of you wish you were here. God willing, sometime soon in the future we'll celebrate together, but we feel your presence spiritually through the technology. This is our way to be a community, in our time of COVID. So we're going to begin together on page 103 in your Siddur. Those that are sitting here in the shul can actually open their red Siddurim. And those on the internet, you can follow with the links next to the live stream, I should say, for the Shabbat prayer book for Siddur Lev Shalem. We're going to rise together on page 103 for the morning blessings of gratitude. We rise, Birchot HaShachar.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sachvi bina להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שעשני בצלמו.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בת חורים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שעשני ישראל.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עברי.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam מלביש ערומים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מתיר אסורים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu מלך העולם זוקף גפופים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוקע הארץ על המים.
Amen. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשה לי כל צורכי.
Amen. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזי ישראל מגבורה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מותיר ישראל בתפארה.
Amen. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן יהב כוח.
אמן.
122. ברוך שעבר היה עולם. ברוך הוא עושה בראשית. ברוך הוא ועושה. ברוך זה מקיים. ברוך מרחם. ברוך למלך העולם.
יחיד חי מלך משובח ומפואר את שמו הגדול. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מהולל בתשבחות.
Amen. May be seated.
So Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
friends,
Shalom.
all those who are here and here, wherever here is. I want to offer this kavanah, this intention, as we move into our tefillah, our davening this morning. We're in the midst of counting the Omer from the second night of Passover as we move towards Shavuot, when we'll celebrate receiving Torah once again. And each week of the Omer is dedicated, according to the Jewish mystics, to a particular soul trait, a midah, that we're trying to grow in ourselves and see in the world. And the soul trait for this week is netzach. Netzach is this quality of endurance or persistence. Sometimes it's also translated as victory. I know there are some sports people here like Lila who likes a victory, but it's really about, like in yoga language, holding the pose, sustaining the energy when it's hard. And I think if there were one soul trait that we've all really been challenged in during this incredibly long year plus, is can we hold the pose? Can we continue to endure and persevere? And sometimes, quite frankly, it gets very tiring. But today on Shabbat, we let that spirit of persistence and endurance kind of settle into the spirit of Shabbat, which is about rest and joy and connection to the people we love. So for me, I hope and pray through my tefillah, and I hope in yours, that we give ourselves permission to let that netzach, that endurance and persistence and perseverance kind of just shine through. The experience of just allowing ourselves to rest and be together and not produce anything or show off anything, make anything happen, just be here together.
Amen.
So we're going to continue with just warming up our hearts, our bodies, our voices in our prayer with a special psalm for Shabbat, page 134. 134. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat tov lehodot Adonai Lamelech Shmirion Lagim V'Techa V'Nachmelech Ale Yasavena V'Nedim V'Sachim V'Levasechanen Magadu Masecha Yamishvadecha Yishvanu Beseva Risheni Verananim Ayu Lehagid Ki Yashar Adonai Suri Velo Avlat Tabo. We continue now with Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, page 136. This psalm invites us to marinate in Osher, in contentment, in the gift of just being here, wherever here is, exactly as we are. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha od yalu chasela.
Ashream shikacha lo, Ashream shernai
Tila
Elohai.
leDavid, armimcha Elohai, hamelech v'avarcha shimcha leolam va'ed.
B'chu yom avarcheka v'ala shimcha le'olam va'ed.
Yado Adonai mulad me'od, ve'ligdulato en cheket.
דורי דורי שבח מעשיך גבורותיך יגידו.
Hadar kevod hotecha v'divrei niflotecha sicha.
וזוז נורתך יאמרו דלתך ספרנה.
זכרב טובך יביעו וצדקתך ירננו.
חנון ורחום אדוני רחפיים וגדול חסד.
טוב אדוני לכל ורחמיו על כל מעשיו.
יודו חרני כל מעשיך וחסידיך יברכוך.
כבוד מלכותך יאמרו גבורתך ידברו.
להודיע לבני אדם גבורותיו וכבוד הדר מלכותו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך עיני לכל הנופלים וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
עיניך לך יסברו ותרת להם ותאכלם בעיתו.
פותח את ידיך משביע לכוחי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב עיני לכל קוראיו לכל אשר יגרו ואמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיע.
שומר נא את כל אוהביו את כל רשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו יברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך ידיו יד עליו. הללויה.
Page 141. Hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Begodshoa. Hallelujah. Vergia uzo. Hallelujah.
take a deep breath. Neshima amuka. As we prepare for Nishmat Kol Chai, every soul, every breath is its own prayer to God. Page 145. Nishmat Kol Chai, Tivarech Shimcha, Adonai Eloheinu.
Bottom 146.
Umi Yisrael, Umi Aruch Hagadol, Hagibor, Vehanora, Elyon, Kunashamayim V'Haaretz, Nalelecha Nishabechechan, Va'elachar Varech, Et Shem Kodshecha Kamur,
LeDavid V'Chinu Shirnai,
V'Chol Kavai,
Et Shem
Kodsho, Bitzatmat Uzecha,
Hagadol B'chvod Shemecha,
Hagimon Netzach, V'Hanora B'Norotecha,
HaMelech HaYoshev.
V'Kiseram,
147.
V'Nisa, Shochenat Maharon, V'Kadosh Shemo,
V'chaturanu tzadikim baronai, sharim nava tehila.
Yesharim Titala,
U'divrei tzadikot yitbarach.
U'Belshon Chasidim Titroma,
U'bekerev kedoshim yikadash.
U'Makalot
Revavot
Revavot
ha'ed
Ha'ed
Yisrael.
Yisrael.
Shakin chovat.
להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפעל, לרומם, נהדר, לברך, לקלס על כל דרבי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי,
Please rise. 148.
עבדך משיחך,
חייך ישתבח שמך לעד
מלכנו,
מלך הגדול הקדוש בשמיים.
ברכות והודות,
מידיו יד עולם,
ברוך אתה אדוני,
בו שמוע,
גדול בתשבחות, על הודעות אדון הנפלאות,
הבוחר שירי זמרה,
מלך
חיי העולמים, אמן,
יתקדל ויתקדש שמרבה,
אמן.
ברמת יברח חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ימכון, ובחית כל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב ימרו.
אמן, ישמר רבה מבורך, לעולם ומעלמיה.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו. לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה וימרו.
Amen. 149, a bow for the Baruch.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
May be seated 150.
ברוך אתה.
Baruch atah
אדוני
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or borei osher ozeh shalom
ובורא
הגול הגוי ידוך וגוי ישבוך קדוש אדוני ותך יום דתו שם מצוות המלך נאמן
אין כרך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה ויהיה זולתך מלכנו לחיי עולם הבא. אפס החגון על מות המשיח,
ואין
ואין
למלא
מושיענו
מושיענו.
בתחיית המתים.
151.
אל
אדון על כל המעשים ברוך ומבורך,
מכל
שמה גדול וטובו מעלי עולם, דעת ותבונה סובב עמותו, המתקהל החיות הקודם לרחבות, מרכבה זכור ומשעולי, הכיסו חסד ורחמים, עבודו טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו, יצר עם בדעת בינה ובשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם להיות מושלים, תבם לעין זיל ויגים נוגה, האיבה בכל העולם, זרים ושריטה וששים ובואבוים בין הרצון גונם ובכבוד נותנים לשמוע צור ורינה לזכר מלכותו, גר על השמש יזרח אורה וידגין זורת הלבנה, שבע נותנים לו קודבה, מרודי ורד וגדולה,
שרפים
אובני חיות הקודש. 152.
אשר שבת מכל המעשים,
יום השביעית עליו איש הכיסא תנו לך סלע תתבצע למכנו. Top 153.
כולם אהובים, כולם
ורואים,
כולם
גיבורים,
וכולם
עושים באימה וביראה,
רצון קונם,
וכולם בוהים בפיהם
בקדושה
ובתורה,
בשירה
זמרה,
ומברכים
ושבים,
ומפארים,
מרצים, מקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, הקדוש כולם מקבלים עליהם מלכות שמיים זה מזה,
רעונים רשות
זה לזה
להיות
רע,
ונחת
רוח
רוח ושפה ברורה
ונימה קדוש העולם כאחד עונים. קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך על הארץ כבודו, נים והיות הקודם ורעש גדול, שרפים ומטעים אומר לי ברוך כבוד אדוני מן גמו ליל ברוך נימות אלך וקיים זכר שבת מלחמות אור חדש הנער צעיר מהרה לאורו
ברוך אתה אדוני
בשמו
יוצר המאורות.
Page 154, we grab our four corners of tzitziot, bind them together, prepare for Shema Yisrael. Abba, Avdanu, Eloheinu, Chemla, Gdora, V'torcha, V'dim, Racham, V'dim, Racham, Racham, V'dim. V'ereneinu, V'degla, Begla, B'dim.
וקירבתנו לשמך קדוש אלה באמת, להודות לך ויחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
Israel, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, and אהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבביך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך
ובשוכבך
ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפו בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. Continue page 156, וישמוע לשמוע זה שנוכי. לעבוד ולהירו ולהבנתם את ארצכם ביתה. עד יסף, שם לכם בנפש. ויצאים נכון ומשען
לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים, וחיסו נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיים.
157 וטוב חיים
אמת שאתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, מלכנו מלך אבותינו ואמותינו, גואלנו גואל אבותינו ואמותינו, יוצרנו צור ישועתנו, הודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך,
אין אלוהים זולתך, עזרת אבותינו ואמותינו אתה ומעולם. אשרי איש אמן אמן ושלום מצווה גדול.
תהילות לאל עליון, ברוך ומבורך
משה מרים בני ישראל
לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו נם.
מי כמוך באים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש,
נוראתי לו
עוזי פלא.
שירה חדשה שבחו גאולים משמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני לו לעולם ועד. סוד ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופתחנו מך יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. So, Chevre, pages 159 through 161, we daven together as a congregation. Rest done silently.
Adonai Zevadai Divna Ufiyaidin Adeha Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu
ילדים טובים, וגוני הכל, זוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד, מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, לחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. מוריד האדם, מרגל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו. שני עפר מחמוך בעל גבורות, ומדומה לה מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה.
ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך הוא שמו.
לחיי המתים.
אמן. קדש בעולם, אותו בשמי מרוע, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וחרזה אל ואמר, אדון גדול גדול אדוני זו אלוהים הארץ כבודו. לעומת זרעי, לעומת זרע, ברוך יאמרו, ברוך יבוא עיני במקומך. תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מרגיע אנחנו לה. ואתה תמלוך את ציון, וקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתגדל לתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור, נצח נצח יאי, ועינינו תראינה מחוזך כדבר ובשירי עוזך, על ידי דוד משיח זכרך, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, חיי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה.
לדור ודור נגיד
עוד לך,
ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפילנו לשני עולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני
בשמו.
אל הקדוש.
אמן. Page 167.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
והנמה דברכותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון ומחון, ובחיי תכל בית ישראל, בגלה וזמן קריב וימרו,
אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולם יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרום אמינתי, ויתדר ויתלה ויתלה על שמי קודשה,
בריחו.
לעילם, ניקו בחטא ושלתה, תושחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה וימרו,
אמן.
תתקבל צלתן ופתון לכו ישראל, קדם אבון דיבישמי וימרו,
אמן.
יהי שלם הרם ישמיה, וחיים עלינו וכל ישראל וימרו,
אמן.
עושה שלום ממרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו וכל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל וימרו,
Amen. We now turn to page 168 for Seder Kriyat Torah as our bat mitzvah leads us in introduction to the Torah service.
אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני, ואין כמוסך.
Malorech Malor Olamim Shadei Ador Ador Adonai Melech Adonai Malach Adonai Imlom Le'olam Va'ed Adonai Olam Oidem Adonai Va'ed Amo V'Shalom Amin Heidi V'Yetzoncha Et Zion Tivnei Homot Yerushalayim Ki Leha Levanat Tagnu. Please rise.
ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה.
Huma Adonai ve'yavodu oyevecha ve'yanusu misanecha itpanecha ki b'tzion tetzei Torah ki b'tzion tetzei Torah u'devar Adonai miYerushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael v'kedushato. Page 171, our Bat Mitzvah leads us responsively in Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonai Kadosh Shema.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Gadol Adonai Yitir Neronim Shema Yada.
Leha Adonai Hagedula Hagevura V'Tiferet V'Hanetza V'Ahod Yichol V'Shamayim U'Va'aretz Yichol V'Shamayim U'Va'aretz Leha Adonai HaMamlacha Na'aseh Leho Lerot V'Ishtachavot Raglav Adosho Ki Adonai Elohim. Maybe seat everyone who's here in the sanctuary. Shabbat Shalom. We're in for a special treat. We have a wonderful set of readings from the Torah and the Haftarah, of course, the whole Megillah, basically. We are following from, this is a double parsha, Parshat Achrei Mot Kiddushim. For those who are here in the sanctuary, the larger red books called the Chumashim. We're beginning on page 687 in the Chumash. We are in Leviticus chapter 17, verse 13. And our reader, I believe, will be the Ima. Rachel Ilana will find her spot. And the Aliyah is being offered by Big Brother Lev. Okay. ויעזור וגם ושיר אשים בו ונאמר אמן, הכל הבו גודל, לאלוהים ייתנו כבוד לתורה, יעמוד לב, הלל, בן משה הכהן, רחל אילנה, לעלייה הראשונה, ברוך שתן תורה ובקדושתו, ואתם אביקים באדוני, אלוהיכם חיים ויום היום.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני מבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן.
אמן. ואיש איש מבני ישראל, ומן הגר הגר בתוכם אשר יצאו, צאת חיה, עוף אשר יאכל, ושפך את דמו, ושיחהו בעפר, כי נפש כל בשר, דמו ונפשו, ואומר לבני ישראל, דם כל בשר לא תאכלו, כי נפש כל בשר דמו היא, כל אוכליו יכרת, וכל נפש אשר תאכל נבלה וטרפה, ואזרח ובגר וכיבס וגדל, ורחץ במים, וטמא עד הערב וטהר, ואם לא יכבס, ובשרו לא ירחץ, ונשוא עוונו.
Shkoyach. Beautiful.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Shkoyach. Chazak. V'amatz. Tov. We now continue our second aliyah. This is on chapter 18, verse 1, page 688. We invite the proud grandparents to come forward. Yamdu, Shlomo Moshe ben Chaim, Ezra Kohen, Vadasa. Vadasa, Tova bat Nechemi Vasara, Laliyah, Shenit.
ואת אדוני חמברך,
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Vaed.
ברוך אדוני ברך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם בתוכנו. ברוך אתה. Oh, you're reading that way. Sorry. ונתן לנו את תורתו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ויאמרת עליהם, אני אדוני עליכם, כמעשה ארץ מצרים, אשר ישבתם בו לא תעשו, וכמעשה ארץ כנען, אשר אני מביא אתכם, שמע לא תעשו, ובחוקותיהם לא תלכו, את משפטי תעשו, ואת חוקותי tishmeru lalechet bahem ani Adonai lechem ushratem et hukotai v'et mishvotai asher ya'asu
Yes.
otam ha'adam v'chai bohem ani
Adonai Shkoyach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shkochem. Tov. Continue now with our third aliyah. We're in chapter 19, verse 1, page 693. Our readers are Bat Mitzvah, and we call Big Brother Asher forward. Yamod Asher Binyamin ben Moshe HaKohen Rachel Lana L'aliyah Shlishit.
Baruch Adonai
No.
Hamvarach.
Oh, Adonai Baruch Leolam. Sorry. Restart. Oh.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch and Baruch Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai Moshe lemor daber ekol hadav b'nei Israel va'amarta alehem kedoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem ishimo ve'aviv tira'u ve'shabtotai tishmeru ani Adonai Elohechem.
Shkoyach.
Tashkek.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayeh olam notah b'tohenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shkoyach. Kol hakavod.
Now you can.
We now continue our fourth aliyah. Invite the proud parents from Mazal Tov. Mazal Tov. Our fourth aliyah, the proud parents come forward. Chapter 19, verse 4, page 694. Yamdu Moshe ben Kalman HaKohen v'Esther. Rachel Ilana bat Shlomo Moshe HaKohen v'Tova. L'aliyah revi'it.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch HaNevarah le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Altifnu El Ha-Elilim Elohei Maseh Lo Tasu Lahem Ani Adonai Elohechem Behi Titzvehu Seva Shelamim Ladonai Ritzonehem Titzbahu Vayom Titzbahem Yeahel Umimaharat V'hanotar ad yom hashlishi va'esh yisaref ve'im he'aho ye'ahel v'yom hashlishi piguhu lo yeratzeh ve'olav avono yisa ki hakodesh Adonai hilel v'nichrata hanefesh hahi me'ameha Ukutzrahem et kitzir artehem lo tekaleh pe'at sadecha likzor velek et kitziraha lo telakate v'harmeha lo teoleo uferek harmeha lo telakate le'ani velager ta'atzov otam ani Adonai Elohechem Lo tignovu, v'lo tehachashu, v'lo teshakeru, ish ba'amito, v'lo teshave'u, v'ishmi la shaker, v'hilata, et ta'ashok ereha, velo tigzol, lo talin, pe'ulat zahir, itaha ad boker, lo tekalel heresh, velifnei iver, lo titain vishol, v'yaritam Eloheha ani Adonai.
כל הכבוד.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. כל הכבוד, יישר כוח. At this time, we now are calling forward for the maftir, the final aliyah, verse 11, page 695, our bat mitzvah. Tamod, 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 bachorat, bat mitzvah, Laila Blum, bat Moshe Kohen v'Rachel Ilana, lemaftira chizki.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvora.
Baruch Hanevra leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvora leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Lo tignovu v'lo techachashu v'lo teshakeru ish ba'amito. Lo teshave'u v'ishmi la shaker v'hilata et shem Eloheha ani Adonai. Lo ta'ashok ereha ve'lo tigzol lo talin ve'ulat zachir itaha ad boker. Lo tekalel heresh v'lifnei iver lo titain v'shol v'yaritam Eloheha ani
Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov. Elanu, 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 Oreo Israel. Elanu, elanu, Oreo Israel. Elanu, elanu, Oreo Israel. Elanu, elanu, Oreo Israel. Mazal tov laila kol hakavod. We rise together as Dr. Cohen lifts the Torah. V'zot HaTorah asher sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael Adonai v'yam Moshe Handai, 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 bye, bye, handai, 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 May be seated, everyone. So now the Haftarah from the book of Amos. You can follow along in your Chumash on page 706.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar binvi'im tovim v'ratzah v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo Uvin v'e ha'emet v'tzedek.
Amen.
Hallo hivnei hushim atem li b'nei Yisrael ne'um Adonai. Hallo et Yisrael ha'eleti me'eretz Mitzrayim uflishim mikaftor ba'aram mikir hinei einei Adonai Elohim b'amam laha ha'ata'ah v'ishmati ota me'al penei ha'adamah efes ki lo hashmid ashmid ebe Yaakov ne'um Adonai ki hinei anohi mitzaveh v'hanioti v'chol hagoyim ebe Yisrael ka'asher yinoah b'kivara lo yipol tziror aretz be'herev yamutu kol hata'ei ami ha'omrim lo tagish v'takdim ba'adenu hara'ah ba'ayom hahu akim etzukat David hanofelet v'gadarti et pirteihen v'harisota v'akim uvnitiha kimei olam leman yirshu et sherid edom v'hu hagoyim asher nikra shemi alehem ne'um Adonai osezot hine yamim ba'im ne'um Adonai v'nigash horesh b'kotzer v'dorei anavim v'moshe hatzara v'hitifu heharim asis v'hu hakba'ot tismogagna v'shati et shivut ami Yisrael uvanu arim neshamot ve'ashavu v'nateu cheramim v'shatu et yenam ve'asu ganot ve'achlu et perihem untatim al anmatam ve'lo yinatishu od me'al anmatam asher natati lahem amar Adonai Elohecha
Shkoyach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam zor kol ha'olamim tzadik b'chol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'osei hamdaber kayim shechol devarav emet v'tzedek ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim devareha v'devar ehad midvareha ahor lo yeshuv rekam ki el melech ne'eman v'rahaman atah baruch atah Adonai
Moshemo.
ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav
Amen.
Rahem al Tzion ki hi beit hayinu v'la'alu v'nefesh toshia b'mheira b'yaminu Baruch atah Adonai
Moshemo.
mesameach Zion bevanecha
Amen.
Samheinu Adonai Eloheinu b'Eliyahu hanavim avdeha u'malchut beit David mishimhecha b'mheira yavo ve'yagel libenu al kiso lo yeshev zar v'lo yinhalu od aherim et kivodo ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo shelo yichbenei ro le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai
Moshemo.
Magen David
Amen.
Al HaTorah V'al HaAvodah V'al Hanvi'im V'al Yom HaShabbat Hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha v'limnucha Lekavod ultifaret Al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim la Varchim ota Yitbarach Shimcha befi kol hai Tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai
Moshemo.
Kadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Shekoach, Laila, wonderfully done. So now, after Torah, beautiful readings, and Haftarah, now our bat mitzvah is going to offer her Devar Torah, her commentary. I can see there's a smile underneath that mask there somewhere. Okay, all right. She's going to enjoy it. We're going to hear wonderful teaching. Bakasha, Laila.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
The Torah portions for this week are Achrei Mot and Kiddushim, but I'm going to focus on Kiddushim. This Torah portion talks about laws that the Jewish people should follow to make them a distinct and holy people. I'm going to discuss verses 9 and 10 from chapter 19. Those verses say, "When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap all the way to the edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. You shall not pick your vineyard bare, or gather the fallen fruit of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and the stranger. I, the Eternal, am your God." So what exactly is meant by showing harvest from the corners of the fields? In Hebrew, these corners are referred to as peah. When I think of corners of a field, I think of things like corner kicks that create scoring opportunities, because I spend so many hours on a soccer field. But what do Jewish scholars from different time periods have to say about the corners of the fields, the peah? I have gathered some commentary about these verses. The first quote I will discuss is from Rabbi Ayim ibn Attar, the 1700s in Morocco. He says, "God commanded in the singular to say that even one individual has the obligation to give peah. This means that everyone has a responsibility and a privilege to give. No matter who you are and what your financial status is, you can still give something, and it doesn't have to be tangible. Everyone has a duty and privilege to take care of our fellow humans. Also, even those with very little need to have the dignity and self-determination and have opportunities to give." The second quote is from Rabbi Ovadia Sforno from the 1500s in Italy. He says, "The salt of our wealth is charity." This quote is from the Babylonian Talmud, which he uses to make the point, to preserve our wealth, we need to diminish it through acts of kindness. To make our wealth last longer and to keep it meaningful, we need to use it in kind ways. We need to share our blessings. Rabbi Ismar Schorsch, born in Germany in 1935, agrees with this idea by saying, "Our personal blessing carries a measure of responsibility. We all need to take care of each other to succeed and overcome obstacles. The sentiment is relevant today." Why are these statements relevant today? They are relevant because we are in a pandemic, and in order to overcome it, we must work together. How is peah similar to wearing a mask? This is similar to giving peah, or giving the corners of our fields, because we have to care for our fellow humans by following protocols such as the mask mandate, and give up some of our privileges to keep people safe. Often, people refer to cutting corners as taking the easy way out, but the Torah teaches us to preserve our corners. Why? This relates to the quote, "The salt of our wealth is charity." People use salt to tenderize tough meats, and giving charity tenderizes or softens our hearts. Also, sometimes those who have become wealthy, they have had to be very tough in business and not always kind. But when they have an opportunity to share wealth through charity, they gain the opportunity to soften some of that toughness. I am giving my peah to a place at the table, which is a Pay What You Can cafe in downtown Raleigh, for my mitzvah project. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
Laila. What an
Shalom.
awesome Devar Torah. Kol hakavod. You can leave your papers there. We'll invite your parents to come down. You can just stay. We'll maintain the 6 feet in honor of your Devar Torah as well across the arc here. Kol hakavod, Laila. Yes, Aaron, you can definitely give her love and support. Exactly. Okay, Mazel Tov. Awesome. Laila, we're so proud of you. I mean, unbelievable teaching you gave here. Really deep. I mean, we were discussing, we studied with both your parents and you together about peah, which also is the same word for payas, which is a sign of kind of the side locks that some traditional Jews still maintain to this day. But it means corner, not just corner kicks, right? But it means corner. And you taught beautifully what it means to give of the corner of your fields or the corner of your charity, like kind of a corner of your wealth, of what it means to give. And I think that even like more profoundly, you've really taught here, and your family really stands for this. It doesn't fall far from that amazing tree you have there. That what it means is that in the world, a full life is one where you don't reluctantly give your corner, right? But you enjoy and have the nachas of giving the corner, that it's a privilege, that it's a gift, the corner. Yes, the Torah is, quote unquote, making us give the corner. but it's something that we do because it also gives our heart joy. It maybe softens it, but also gives it life. And your family and all your friends, and you too, Lila, being part of a team, is that it's amazing to be the goal scorer. I know you got that in you, and the defender, and I got that too. But it's also great to pass, It's amazing to give the ball over for the sake of everybody celebrating together. That's something you understand very deeply, that your joy, your life's meaning, that comes just from you, but from the community of people and the friends and family you have together. And you give a great example of that, Lila. You've given your corner more, and may only continue to, God bless you, to give more and more corners in the future. So we rise, everyone, invite all to rise together as the parents place talit over our bat mitzvah. Both of the Kohanim, exactly, and you can place your hands on her head if you'd like. We're going to bless her with the oldest Kohen blessing. Lila, may God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you, be gracious to you. May God always look upon you and grant you peace. We say amen. Amen. Okay. We invite all to remain standing for a moment. We're going to offer a Misha Berach for Cholim. So at this time, we'll just have our bat mitzvah hang at the table for a second with her parents, as they're still getting the nachas from her beautiful Devar Torah and teaching. This time we're offering a special prayer of healing and support and strength. We have those in our congregation who sadly during this time of COVID are struggling through the challenges that would happen at any time. Those who struggle with illness that we can see manifest on the outside and struggles on the inside as well. We have all those in our community and in our country and the world who are still struggling sadly, of course, with COVID and battling it, even as we continue, obviously, to move in a positive direction with God's help still. It's a pandemic that's caused a plague again, both on the physical bodies of people, but also on the soul. The sadness, the isolation is extremely difficult. And we pray for all those, sadly, those who have suffered from violent crime. In this past week, we pray particularly for the Floyd family and others who've deeply suffered from violence, against their own will. Those who've suffered tragically, those people of color, sadly, in light of law enforcement in recent times. We pray for all those, for our world, that the ills in our society should be healed. The soul of our society should be healed. So with that, we invite a special prayer, Misha Berach, for Cholim. We now remain standing as we're going to return the Torah to the Ark on page 184. Slicha, bakasha, for bat mitzvah first.
Yehabalu et Shem Adonai, Kinis Gav Shema Levado.
Hodo Eretz V'Zamayim V'Yarek Eren Li'amo Tila Lechol Hazida Livnei Yisrael Am Girovo Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Et Chaim Him Levazigim Vavet Yasha koach. Everyone might be
Yasha
seated at this time. You seated?
Cohen.
Such a pleasure with the Cohens and Schiffmans and everything. We know we get the bemis taken care of. They know what they're doing up there. All right, Shikoyach. Beautiful. So some of you have here, hopefully, I think Asher, our mensch, passed out some text we're going to study here in the congregation. And all you back at home and enjoying, God willing, and davening on the internet, you'll see a copy of this. Next to the live stream, there should be a link for the Devar Torah, the Torah teaching for this week for Achremot Kiddoshim. And our custom, some of you are regulars and Beth Meyer people, some of you have visited enough time here, you know, from other simchas, that our custom is to do a Torah conversation and a discussion together. So what we've been doing for the past, a couple months or so, is we're going to have the opportunity for those of you at home who are on the Zoom. I know some of you are just in the live stream. It's okay. You if you'd like, could offer possibly some comments in the YouTube comments link. But those on the Zoom, we're going to invite you to comment as well in the chat on the Zoom. And you all here in the congregation, if you would like to share as well any of your thoughts, there is no microphone, unfortunately. We're not passing a microphone. But if you'd like to offer any thoughts too, we invite you to do so. Don't feel any requirement to do so. But we know that this family often has great Torah insights, so definitely don't hesitate at the same time. So we're going to study a text together. Rabbi Jenny will begin the conversation, kind of set the table, so to speak, and then we'll have the meal discussion with you guys together in the chat. So, again, there's two parshas, and our Bat Mitzvah also focused on Parshat Kedoshim, which also is close to our hearts because that was Rabbi Jenny's Bat Mitzvah portion, that was my Bar Mitzvah portion, so, we share that with Lila, and, we're every Torah portion is great, but we're a little partial to this Torah portion. And it has amazing teachings about some of the basic moral foundations of our tradition. Again, in fact, I don't know if Lila noted, but she actually read the one that says, revere your mother and father. I was going to make a comment about that. Sure, she does that very well in her family, but, it's an important mitzvah. And there's a lot of others. Don't place a stumbling block before the blind. Do not curse the deaf. Love your neighbor as yourself. These are the classic, deep, profound teachings of, really, you could say, Western civilization, possibly. Tov, but there's one in there that that sometimes gets maybe a little overlooked, but is very, very important in these behaviors of how to act. And it specifically deals with the word, in Hebrew, we call it tochacha. Here in the text, it's going to be hocheach, tocheach et amitecha, which is a repeated word. You see the chacha, a lot of cha in there. And in translation, it means rebuke. And rebuke is a fancy kind of SAT word of saying basically giving constructive, negative feedback. Meaning constructive means to be helpful, but it's when you're telling someone or a group of people or powers that be, authority figures, or a whole society, when you want to express something that you think someone is doing something wrong, or a group of people, or whatever, how do you go about conveying that information? And according to the Torah, it's a mitzvah to rebuke when you see something going wrong. You can't be a bystander. You have to be an upstander, okay? You have to say something, but there's a way to say it. There's actually a particular process, if I say it, according to Jewish law, and there are many rabbis who get into detail, all over the Talmud it gets into it, but Maimonides, who the great Rambam, he lays it out very clearly in his Mishnah Torah, his text from the Middle Ages. He says, this is the way when you see something going wrong in your society or amongst whatever, a friend even, whatever. Here's how you should go about it based on the verse in the Torah. And that's what we want to get into. What is the process? Because it's not just about fulfilling rebuke, it's doing it in the right way so that hopefully it can be heard. A lot of things here. So we're going to get into it. I brought a number of about 4 different examples of the halachot of how he recommends. We're going to focus on really a lot on 7 and 8, the last 2. But I brought the first 2 kind of as a like an envelope, a context for it. So, Rabbi Jay, will you read here the verse in the Torah, and maybe we'll start reading through some of the halachot?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And just so your eyes are sort of focused on the same place, we're going to see that there's a word or even a letter that offers some ambiguity about whether it means and or but.
That's
so just
correct.
have your eyes open for that. So the verse from Vayikra, from Leviticus, you shall not hate your brother in your heart, rebuke your kinsman, and, or but, is the preposition in Hebrew, incur no guilt because of him.
Okay. So this is really kind of like what's called the koshi. What's the difficulty? Because it says, fine, rebuke your fellow person.
We understand that.
Right, but then it's like, what does it mean that you rebuke, but you don't get any guilt because of it? It doesn't seem like, like do the rebuking. Why would it even be possible that you would be guilty of a sin in the process of doing a mitzvah, right? The mitzvah is to tell someone doing something wrong, but somehow it is implied here, or a question mark, that in the process maybe of rebuking, which is supposed to be good, it might do something bad. This is the kosh you want to bring up. Okay, that's the point. All right. So look what the Rambam says. How do you go about rebuking properly and, God forbid, not sinning at the same time? So do you want to start with maybe the very big? Okay, start with number 5.
Any person who hates another person in their heart commits a sin. For the Torah says, do not hate your brother in your heart.
So basically, hatred in your heart, they say, it's sof pasuk. You really, that is not to be done. Okay, so how do you avoid that problem? Number 6.
When one person offends another person, the aggrieved person must not ignore it and remain quiet. Rather, it is incumbent upon the aggrieved person to let the offender know what has occurred. The aggrieved person should ask, why did you do this to me? Why did you sin against me? If the offender repents and asks for forgiveness, the aggrieved person must forgive and not be cruel.
Okay. So first and foremost, when someone does something that upsets a person, okay, you come in with questions. It's a place of curiosity. What happened there, basically? Why did you do this to me? Which I think is a little bit open to part of like, did I not understand? Did we have a miscommunication? Did something happen here that I don't get? And then a little harder is, well, do you realize you might have actually sinned against me? You yelled at me, you hurt my feelings, I don't know, you stole from me, God forbid, whatever maybe. Do you realize that this thing really hurt me here? With a little bit of a question, a little bit like, maybe we didn't get all the details right. Can we clarify what's going on here? I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
this
well, it's also a posture of humility to say, I know that I feel hurt here, but perhaps there's more information that I'm not aware of.
Exactly.
Perhaps you're coming from a place I don't understand. So I'm going to get to the part where I tell you the truth that I'm hurt, but I want to understand a little bit more how we got here.
You fit. And what's interesting here, it says, look, if the person says, oy vey, I'm so sorry, Gavalt, I didn't really realize, I'm so sorry, I didn't even mean to, blah, 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 or I didn't mean to come across this way. If they apologize and they truly say, and I'm so sorry, please accept my apology, you really have to accept it. Now, that doesn't mean you feel great and you forgot about it. No, but you say, okay, look, I get it, I understand. And you can't be cruel. You can't go back and say, oh, you're the person, I'm going to stick it in, I'm going to, I'm going to somehow speak gossip about you. It's like, no, that would be cruel. But I accept I may still be hurt by it. It still can sit in my heart a little bit, although you shouldn't hate in your heart. That's part of the issue you're avoiding. It's, it doesn't say forget, but it does say you have to take the accepted apology as it. Be gracious, exactly in that moment. All right, now we're going to get, though, a little more deeply. How do you go in a way to the person when you really got to keep going a little bit further, okay?
If a person sees a friend sinning, it is a mitzvah to return the friend to the right path and to tell the friend that they are sinning and hurting themselves by these bad actions. When a rebuker rebukes a friend, whether the issue is interpersonal or between the friend and God, the rebuke must happen in private. The rebuker must speak calmly in a low voice and must specifically state that the rebuker is only doing this for the friend's betterment. If the friend accepts the feedback, that's good. If the friend does not accept it, then the rebuker must go back a second or third time until the friend says, I will not listen anymore.
There's so much in this here.
Yeah.
Do you have your first, what are you thinking?
Well, just as an overview, I think this part of the Rambam's teaching is reminding us that not only giving rebuke is important, but how we give rebuke is equally important. And I love that that the Rambam is using the word friend here. That is to say, we understand that even people that we care about are going to make mistakes. And it is especially with the people that we care about that we are called into relationship to talk about it and to help them continue to grow and to not sort of just turn our eyes because they're our friend.
also want to say, I think the intention is like the kavanah, like the intention here of stating it out loud to the person. Look, I'm doing this not because I'm trying to attack and trying to pull you down or shame you, God forbid. I'm doing it because I care about you and I'm worried about you and I'm doing this for your betterment because I'm worried about you. Because there's something about the rebuke. There's a little bit of chutzpah in the rebuke, right? Because it's like saying, I know what's wrong here. I'm making the judgment, but the judgment could be off. Like there's something I may not have all the information, or who knows? It's complicated relationships, but if I do it with a sense of, but I'm doing this because I really am worried, and I'm doing it because I care about you, I love you, blah, 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 hopefully it can be received better, but hopefully so the conveying of it is done in a position of chesed, a place of love, as opposed to a place of attacking and trying to, attack for the sake of attack, not for the sake of saying, look, I feel passionate about this, it hurts, or I'm upset, or I'm worried, but I'm doing it from a place of love, of concern for you, for the other person.
I think the Rambam understands that the chances, like when anybody receives negative feedback, like it feels bad, it hurts. Even if you don't care about that person, I don't know, maybe some people don't care, but I can't. And I think the Rambam understands that the only chance that that person will be able to sort of overcome that natural sense of remorse or shame or guilt is because it is coming from a place of love.
Okay.
Like that is the great motivator, I think,
Yes.
to help us change, which is hard.
Yes. I think that's to that purpose, it says here, calmly, in a low voice, at first. You must also do it privately, right? You're not going to go up in the, on the bima. Exactly. Or at first. Now, it doesn't say you should never do that, by the way. It's just saying at first. These are the steps you do first to give the opportunity for the person to best shot. Even go back a couple of times until they won't do it anymore.
And I love that the Rambam understands most of us, speak for myself, who receives negative feedback. Sometimes I'm not ready to hear it the first time. There's almost an expectation that it may take anybody who's worked with a coworker or managed anyone, or children or even parents for that matter, sometimes it takes a couple of times to say the same thing again in love, in a non-shaming way until it registers. And that's an okay, natural part of the process.
And the last one here, and then we'll get maybe some conversation. Number 8.
When a person rebukes a friend, the rebuke must begin without harshness that might cause embarrassment. For the Torah says, do not incur guilt because of him. We learn from this that it is forbidden to denigrate another person in private and certainly never in public. As our great rabbis taught, one who whitens the face of a friend publicly does not have a place in the world to come. And
that phrase really comes to say basically like the blood drains from your face because you feel so ashamed and so embarrassed of what happened.
Yeah.
So this goes back to the verse to say, look, don't hate your brother in your heart. Say what you need to say. Do it properly, but don't do it in a way that publicly shames the person. Again, it's an interesting point because eventually if these behaviors don't happen, let's say on certain authority figures, there may be a place for prophetic rage and a place for protest, a place for demonstration. It's not the saying that's never appropriate, but this is the process you should go through to get to that place and to be sensitive to that person's shame and embarrassment, that is something that the issue of dignity, even of someone who makes mistakes, is important. We want them to change. We're not looking to demolish them onto the floor unless they refuse to take the feedback seriously. That's kind of the interesting dynamic there, but you need to give them time.
Yeah, I love how the rabbis and the Rambam in particular, were really on to Brene Brown's amazing Torah around shame, thousands of years before. And I'm a huge Brene Brown fan. I've read everything she's written, and I listen to her podcast. She has so much wisdom. The rabbis were very connected into this idea that once we shift into shaming another person, the chances of tshuva, of turning, of changing, of growing, of shifting course are very limited. It's just not the way, it's not the tone in which truth can arise and change can then manifest.
In a place of safety. All right. So we're going to offer an opportunity here for those people on the Zoom, if they would like to make any comments here about the Rambam's take on how to go about rebuking, the way that he recommends rebuking based on the Torah, and also this idea of how do you find that line between, speaking what you are, and look, we're human beings, we have feelings. When you've been hurt, it's hard to stay calm, private. Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. I mean, it's a challenge. This is definitely why it's placed in the mitzvah category, because requiring us to do something might not be easy. And the issue of like the emphasis on dignity and not being cruel, even in that process, to give the person the chance to make that way forward. That should be the spirit, and spirit of love. Any thoughts or comments about this idea in terms of what we should do here? I'll start here with the Zoomers, and then we'll invite anyone here in the shul as well. Okay. Henry Schaefer says, the first sentence in the Torah portion would make me interpret the next word rebuke as lovingly rebuke, which is what I think Rambam says in more detail. Yefeh, Henry. So basically it should be like translated as a loving rebuke. I like that a lot. Harry Perlstadt, if the rebuke must happen in private, what does that mean for behaving during protest demonstration? I think this is an excellent point. And it's funny because he does go on further to say various ways you should go on when the person refuses to do that, especially when they're an authority figure or et cetera, which we know in our current situation in our own country, for example. There is a place for demonstration, even a place for excommunication. There's a place for punishments.
This is not the whole story.
Right, that's not the whole story. I was focusing more on the interpersonal, like, first steps. But you're right, like, it's not saying that excluding that possibility. In fact, it may come to a place where you have to do those kind of things. But these are the steps that come first before you reach that place technically. Look, this is an interesting question about how you make social change also. Fair point. Leah Pollack says, keep the peace. Keep the peace while still continuously improving. Very insightful. So basically she's offering here, look, at first let's maintain peace and try to do this in a peaceful, quiet, like, Hamisha way. Doesn't mean that's always the way. Doesn't mean that's the end of the story. It means that's where you should begin the story.
Or a challenge. The challenge upon us is how do we help each other grow without deepening the divide as a consequence.
And also, I think also the key, and I think it's so powerful what Martin Luther King was about, he often would say, we are going to protest with love in our hearts. I think it's so profound. Whether that is felt by the oppressor, not clear. But the idea that he would present here, that we're going to love our way, this protest is not a place of only anger, although that's fair. But it's also about a place of love. We want even the oppressor to change. Not just to be told they're wrong, but to actually change in their hearts. Is that successful? Does that all work? Clearly not. But that intention is a beautiful spiritual intention directly in line with what Rambam is talking about here. You fit. Other thoughts here. Leah also says, all levels of engagement could benefit from this guidance. Work, C-suite to the front office, back office, public and private sector. Wow, timeless. Okay, you're like giving Rambam a lot of kavod here. All right. Since we're here in the shul, I know this is not a, here we go. So we're going to repeat because we don't have a microphone. Rabbi Randy, what do you say?
When we talk about rebuking in a loving way, we have to do that within our own families, how we speak to our children, how we speak to my husband. We don't have to always do that in a public way, even though we're all like, we really have to stop and let's do this in a calm way in private. And like we said, get better results.
You want to?
Yeah, sure. So Rondi shared so powerfully that this isn't just about what happens out there. This is really about how we start with the people that are closest to us, with our children, with our partners. We learn how to do this in our home. This is how we practice. And I would even go one step further to say, this is also how we have to practice with ourselves.
Yes, I agree.
Right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I am often my greatest critic. How do I practice offering criticism and feedback to myself from a place of love, from a place of softness, whatever that, we know what the difference is inside of our hearts when it feels like we're yelling at ourselves and we're whispering important truth with love.
Fair. Okay, yes. This chip.
Hillary.
Sorry.
We just had a seminar about this at work, your butts, they hold you back. And one of the things, you really do need to have some respect for the rebuker or inquirer to hear what they have to say.
Great. So Hillary shared that even in a work setting, she just had a workshop on this idea and how important it is to have respect for the person who's offering the feedback.
Exactly.
Because in order to hear it, but also to be grateful that they're willing to share it.
Takes courage. Takes a lot of courage. Yeshkoyach. Beautiful. Anyone else from the, yes, Vakasha. There we go.
Hello. This might be a little bit long. I apologize. But as soon as I read this, I was immediately reminded back in, I guess it was, time flies, 2 years ago, I was very fortunate to do a week-long leadership development program in Greensboro, North Carolina, at the Center for Creative Leadership. And they gave a
Yeah.
Sure. We'll try to repeat
yeah,
it
we'll
back
repeat it
so
back so
everybody
we-
can hear.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a three-step
Yeah.
method. It's called SBI, situation, behavior, and impact. And it's simple. It's not necessarily easy. It's a simple
Right.
framework to give this type of feedback. And you can use it for positive feedback as well as negative feedback. Positive feedback is very important as well. So situation is the situation where this act occurred.
Right.
The behavior is the behavior that was exuded that
Right.
needs to be discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And the impact, and there's a very subtle nuance here. The impact has to be the impact to you because it has to be a truth. It has to be an undeniable truth what the impact was. And only you can speak truthfully about what the impact was to you.
Yes.
You can't say, oh, Sam
Right.
was really upset.
Yes, that's a great point.
I don't know for sure.
Yes.
Even if it was, I don't really
Right.
know what that means.
That's right.
So I'm going to give an example, a positive example. So, Rabbi, when I walked in this morning, you
Yes.
gave me a very warm greeting, and you even tied it back to my favorite hobby, cycling. And I can say that made me feel really welcome. I was impressed that you remembered that, and I want to thank you for that.
Oh, it's so sweet. Well, I do, because I pray for you to be safe with the biking. I know your your in-laws, okay? No, it's so, what an amazing commentary here. Unbelievable from the mishpacha. So, you want to try it or want me to do it?
I think I can do it.
SBI,
I listened
okay.
carefully.
This is awesome.
So
Awesome.
the uncle of the bat mitzvah
Yeah.
experienced a major
Forrest.
Forrest. I know Forrest. Had an amazing leadership learning experience actually in Greensboro, North Carolina. fairly
Amazing. That's also
recently.
amazing.
Yes, and learned a technique that has an acronym SBI. S, situation, B,
behavior.
and then I, impact. And that it relates to whether you're giving positive feedback or negative feedback or anything in between. But the invitation is to really analyze the situation at hand when you're giving that feedback, and then also to identify very specifically the behavior. And then to share, I is the most important, and is to understand what the impact is on the person who's giving the feedback, because that's the only thing we can ultimately share in truth is our own experience.
Exactly.
That we can say with confidence, and that together is sort of like the safest, most constructive way
Okay.
to offer feedback.
I'll say Rabbi
Great.
Forrest is a very profound teaching there from Rabbi Forrest. Because I think the idea of it's what happened to me. It's not this kind of like they said, I heard it said. You know.
I believe this was the
I here's my opinion.
result.
95 people of 100 say, because you don't know that. But you can absolutely say, this is what I experienced. And I think it's really profound. Excellent point. Kol hakavod, Rabbi Forrest. All right. Shkok. Anyone else from the Friends of Mishpacha have any thoughts about this? Okay, amazing. Amazing. Let me see if there's anything last from the Zoom. I think we got it out all. Okay, shukran.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yasher koach, everyone. It was so great to feel
have
your participation here and out there.
Okay.
It's just a reminder to us that that as we consider the ways in which we offer feedback, especially difficult feedback to people we love, to people we're connected to, that the responsibility is really on us to do that in a way that is loving and truthful.
Yeah, also, you cannot ignore it. You also
Yes.
have to step forward with it when you have that information too. Kol hakavod, whether it's a person or a society issue, et cetera, which speaks much to today. So you can pass your text over to the middle. We have our mensch, I think Asher, the big brothers, are ushered to Shabbos. We're now going to invite back our bat mitzvah. We're going to be beginning the Musaf davening of our prayer service. So we rise together on page 184 for Chatzi Kaddish, led by our bat mitzvah.
Yikada v'yikada shemei rabba.
Amen.
Yamad yifrach yirte v'yamlik mahute.
Behayevonu v'yomechon
U'chayedecho b'et Yisrael. Ba'agala
v'zman korim meruah.
Amen.
Yesh me'rabba mevorah le'olam u'almei
Yibarach.
Yipara yishava b'arbi raman v'naseh. Vid hadar, vid halev, vid halash, mede kudashah.
Brevu.
Le'elam min kol birhata v'shirata.
Tushvechata v'nechemata damiran bialma.
Ve'imeru.
Amen.
So, we place our feet together, face the arc towards Yerushalayim, pages 185 to 187. We daven together. Rest is done silently.
Adonai sifatek tifta
Ufi
ufi
agidim
Baruch
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah El HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot Umevi Goel Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo V'yahava Melech Ozer Ufoked Moshiach U'Magin Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ufoked Sarah Atah Gibor Olam Adonai
Mechayem
Mitim Ataraf Eloshia Moriv Ha'atar Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Lechayem Meitim Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofech Olim Umatir Asulim Omechayem Emunato Shnei Afar Michamocha Gevuro Domidom Elah Melech Memit Umahayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua
V'ne'eman atalaha hayo metim baruch atah Adonai
Oshemo
Mechayeh ha-metim.
Amen.
Na'arizecha
v'na'adishecha ezozia sarvei kodesh hamakdishim havakodesh amkadu aliyad neviecha ekara zel zeve'amar kadosh 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 ha'izom elov ha'aretz kevodo
kevodo malem
Mahalei olam kevodo kevodo mahalei olam hey olam kevodo kevodo mahalei olam esharadav shoalim ze laze ayim ekom kevodo esharadav shoalim ze laze ayim ekom kevodo
le'umatam baruch yomeru
Baruch Adonai mimkomo
mimkom
Mohu yivem v'rahamim v'yahon ha'yachadish shemo erev ha'boker echol yom tamid ha'mahir yah Shema Omrim Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad
who
Eloheinu Avinu Mageinu Hoshienu V'Hashmienu Erahama Sheni Le'nei Kol Chai Li'od lahem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem U'divrei Kodshecha Katuv le'emor Im lo na'lelah la'ich Zion Ledor vador Hallelujah
Ledor vador nagi gadlecha unetzan esahim kedushetam nagdish V'shiv haha Eloheinu mipinu lo Moshe olam ba'ed v'kadosh ata, Baruch ata Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh.
Amen.
Say shalom b'mromav, say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru.
Page 203.
Yikadav yikadashime rabba.
Amen.
Yamadi v'akirte v'yamlik mahute. V'hayahon v'yamehon v'haye. V'kovet Yisrael ba'galav v'zman karim v'imeru.
Amen. Yeshme Rabba Mevora Leolam Me'amaya Yitbara.
Yitbara Yishabah v'yipar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalav shmei kudashah.
Brehu.
Le'elam min kol birhata v'shirata. Tishbehata v'nehemata. Damiram v'yama v'imeru.
Amen.
Tika v'asledahon uva udahon. V'chol Yisrael kadam avuhon divishmaya v'imeru.
Amen.
Heishlama rava min shemaya. V'haye alenu v'akol Yisrael v'imeru.
Amen.
Osei shalom b'mroma huya asei shalom. Alenu v'akol Yisrael v'akol Yosrei tevel v'imeru.
Amen.
Page 204. In Kelohim. In Kelohim.
Ein Keloheinu,
Ein Adonenu, ein Gemalkeinu, ein Gemashienu, mich Eloheinu, mich Adonenu, mich Gemalkeinu, mich Gemashienu. Nor el Eloheinu, nor el Adonenu, nor el Malkeinu, nor el Mashienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shetiru. Please rise. Levanecha ektoret hasamim. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol. Tegula leotzeh breshit. Shelo asanu ye'arazot. Elo zamanu g'mishpachot ha'adama. Shelo sam elkeinu kahet. Or aleinu kechol hamonam. Nagnu korim. Mishtachavim umodim livnei melech malchei hamlachim kadosh baruch hu.
Kakatu b'tortecha Adonai yimloch le'olam ba'ed.
V'nema Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz. V'yom hahu, v'yom hahu.
Adonai echad.
U'shemo, u'shemo, u'shemo Turn to page 207. Invite those in mourning observing a yard site this Shabbat, Achrei Mot Kadoshim, to rise for Kaddish Yatom. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
בעלמא דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר, ויתעלה, ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו Amen. Maybe see everyone. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Mazal Tov, the whole mishpacha. We are now going to invite, I think, Sharon Mills, going to be offering gifts to our bat mitzvah.
After she. Okay.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My name is Sharon Mills, and I got to be Lila's preschool teacher and her bat mitzvah too.
Wow.
Amazing.
So, which I just absolutely
God.
love. And it's been fabulous working with you and getting to know you as a young woman and a Jewish adult, and not so much the preschooler anymore. So you've done a fabulous job, and it was great working with you and your family again. I'm so proud of you today. So we have a few gifts to help you on your Jewish journey. So first is a mezuzah and kosher parchment from the Sisterhood and Men's Club, and a certificate of bat mitzvah and a Tanakh from the congregation and the Board of Trustees. And finally, a Kiddush cup from your B'nai Mitzvah class, so that as you continue wherever you are on your journey, you'll be able to remember this special time in your life. So as you stand here today as an adult member of our congregation, we are excited to watch you continue your Jewish journey as a member of the Beth Meyer family. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov, Laila Shkoyach. So proud. Naches.
All that right there. Perfect.
So,
And then
a few other announcements for the general congregation for here at the shul. Mindfulness meditation will take place tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on Zoom, obviously, right? Yep. And I'll be offering a class also on Zoom. I don't believe in that God either. Jewish takes on spirituality. Mine will be at 11 a.m. So Rabbi Jenny at 10, I'm at 11. Around the World Trivia, Monday night, we've had regular Monday night programming. So Monday night at 7:30. We are approaching next week Lag BaOmer. As Rabbi Jenny noted, we are counting the days from Passover to Shavuot, 50 days total. And the 33rd day is a small kind of celebratory day. It's fun, picnic kind of stuff. Picnic and bonfire, God willing, the weather will cooperate. 6 o'clock on Thursday evening. Okay. Also, Good Deeds Day, which is an awesome mitzvah day here in the whole, kind of Wake County, Raleigh Jewish community. Takes place on Sunday, May 2nd. I guess that's next Sunday, I believe. Volunteer opportunities throughout the day, as well as our blood drive here at the shul, sponsored by our men's club. We have minions, of course, Wednesday at 7, Sunday at 9 tomorrow, and Kabbat Shabbat 8 o'clock, as well as Shabbat services 9:30. And remember, you can register and actually come in person now, not yet for Shabbat morning services, but for all of our other minions. We'd love to have you in person. So just register online. We will, of course, will always have Zoom and YouTube, probably forever, but definitely available for the foreseeable future. So you don't have to come in person, either because it's not possible or you don't feel comfortable yet. We fully understand. However, we are moving towards, slowly, God willing, opening up our shul to more and more people to participate together. We do, of course, have to wear masks and maintain distance, etc. But you can come daven with others and pray with others for the first time in forever for a lot of us. So come if you can, if you feel comfortable. With that, we're going to wrap up our davening. Is it Adon Olam? Page 211. Lila, take us there.
Adon Olam.
Adon Olam.
Hashem
Hashem
Allah.
Allah.
B'derem kol.
B'derem kol yitzini ra. Adon Olam. Hare
Kiflot
Hakol Levado Yimloch Nora Adon Olam
Behu Haya
Vehu Hove Vehu Yedifara Adon Olam
Behu Ehad
V'ein Sheni Adon Olam
V'li Reshit
V'li Tachli V'lo V'hamizvah Adon Olam
Behu Eli
V'chai Goali
V'tzor Chavivi Yetzara
Adon Olam
Behu Nisi
Romanos Li
Meren Kosi B'yom Ekra
Adon Olam.
Beyad
Please rise. Avgid Ruchi V'eti Sham V'ayira Adon Olam
Behiruchi Giviati
Adonai Li V'lo Ira Adon Olam. Kiddush led by our bat mitzvah.
Akem Berach Adonai Yom HaShabbat V'Kashehu Savri
L'chaim.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Borei Pri Hagafen
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Mazel Tov. Laila. Shkoyach. Shkoyach. Laila. Kol hakavod. Mazal Tov. The whole mishpacha and
Shabbat
friends.
Shalom,
Shabbat Shalom,
everyone.
everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
Hashivenu Adonai elecha Venashuva Hadesh Yameinu kekedem Hashivenu Adonai elecha Venashuva Hadesh Yameinu kekedem Hadesh, 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 Hadesh Yameinu. Hadesh, 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 Hadesh Yameinu. Hashivenu Adonai elecha Venashuva Hadesh Yameinu kekedem